It doesn't matter if we're old or young, if we're white or black, men or women. Our human experience is one. We are more similar than we like to admit. We all strive to live, to grow, to thrive, and to find happiness. Sharing our stories heightens our human experience. Stories are so powerful. They bring us together, like they're doing today. They allow us to empathize with one another, learn from one another, and most importantly, appreciate one another. Honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Life Journey series.
Growing up in Beirut during the Civil War, I never thought I would one day become a lawyer, let alone a judge. As a kid, I didn't have a lot of options. I grew up with the important notion that everyone was equal. The idea was instilled in me early on that people should be judged on their character.
Can you walk us through your career path and what prompted you to switch from a career in engineering to law and ultimately to be appointed by then California Governor Jerry Brown to the Superior Court bench?
Yeah, it's been a long journey, Lubna, and I came to the United States, to California, about a year and a half after my dad passed away, and I came to live with my two older brothers who had preceded me here. And I finished high school here, and then I went on. I always wanted to study engineering, and so I studied mechanical engineering, and after I graduated from a degree with mechanical engineering, I worked on engineering projects for City of Los Angeles and other consulting firms, and I work on power plants and energy systems and things like that. But during that whole time, I would work on projects that had some angle with environmental regulations and environmental law. So I became interested in that field, and I started thinking about going to law school to study environmental law. I thought that would be kind of, with the experience that I have going into environmental law, would be a nice thing. And I enjoyed that kind of work. But I couldn't just quit my job. I had a family. I couldn't just quit my job and go to law school. So I ended up working, I worked full time during the day, continued my work as an engineer, went to law school at night. Took me a little longer, 4 years instead of 3 years. And then after law school, I went and worked at a firm, at a big firm in Los Angeles. And I thought I was going to do civil litigation. Then I left and went and clerked for a federal judge. And it was a 1-year clerkship. And my plan was to go back to the firm and continue to do civil litigation. And then as I started watching the criminal trials in federal courts, I found them to be a lot more interesting than civil litigation. Yeah. So towards the end of my clerkship, I applied to the U.S. Attorney's Office, which are obviously under the Department of Justice, and was hired as a federal prosecutor. And I spent about 10 years at the U.S. Attorney's Office. Ultimately, I was the chief of the Eastern Division, handles all federal criminal prosecutions out in Riverside and San Bernardino County out here in Southern California. And after about 10 years, I started thinking about maybe one day I'd like to become a judge, but I wanted to have more of a well-rounded experience before I put my name in to be considered for an appointment to the bench. And that's when I left. I've had my own law practice for a few years. I did criminal defense in federal court. I was selected by the judges in the federal courts to serve on a panel of experienced lawyers to represent indigent defendants who could not afford to hire their own lawyer. And I did that for a few years, and I felt it gave me that well-rounded experience. I had been a prosecutor, I have done defense work, and then I put my name in to be considered and went through the vetting process by the governor's office. And I was very fortunate to be appointed in May of 2017 to the San Bernardino County Superior Court. So that's sort of in a nutshell where I'm at now.
This is absolutely remarkable, Judge Raphael, and what you just painted for us in a few minutes comes from a lifetime of commitment and from assuming monumental responsibilities.
And my greatest role models are my mother and my late father. and that they instilled in me the invaluable asset of caring, of being a person who wakes up each day and shows up in the world with a heart that seeks to do the right thing. There are many everyday heroes in the United States, in Lebanon, and all over the world who inspire us.
Very true.
And I've been very fortunate to have many people around me who have exemplified the principle that doing the right thing is not some abstract notion. The passionate pursuit of justice does not often present simple answers. Doing the right thing involves getting in the trenches and fighting for what you believe in your heart and soul to be right. Now, when I step back, and I think more broadly in terms of perhaps a historical figure who has inspired me,
Yes.
I think of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Why do you think Martin Luther King Jr.'s "I Have a Dream" speech is still relevant today? Have we become a culture of complicity, Judge Raphael? I mean, we still talk about racial and gender inequality. We talk about prejudice. We talk about racial violence.
Every role, every person, each one of us has a role to play in advancing human rights and building a world that is better for present and future generations. Now, the challenges we are facing are not going to disappear overnight. We have made a lot of progress toward universal human rights. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. But a lot more work remains to be done throughout the world.
I think as we strive to build free and democratic societies, Judge Raphael, we need to understand that each one of us is a contributor to the realization of such societies. On a final note, what message would you leave us with as to our individual responsibilities as good citizens and the role we can each play in advancing our community and our culture?
And as we charter our path to the future, the challenge is to make or keep our communities places where we can tolerate, even celebrate our differences while pulling together for the common good. Of many, one should be what we all inspire to have. That's what I leave you with.
Yes, thank you. So much of the law is definitely founded on the morals and ethics of cultures and nations. We all take part in it.